Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to my shop. Today we're going to be talking about stoning your saws. What in the world is stoning your saws? Is this going to be one of those videos? Let's dive in. I just finished sharpening and setting this saw and it feels really good, but now we actually want to take and test it and make sure that this saw does what I want it to do. Because there are times when the saw is at fault. Going off the line may not be your issue. I'm going to set a square on here and strike a line. And this will let me know if my saw can cut straight down that line. And now I'm going to put it on here and I'm going to try to stay just to this side of the line. I'm not going to be squeezing the grip. I'm going to leave it very loose. I'm going to let the saw do the work. And I'm going to see if the saw tracks down that line. So let's put it on and see where we go. And right away here we can see we're going way off the line over here. You can see this is the cut I made earlier, and that parallel line here is not parallel. So that means that we're cutting too much on this side of the saw. So that means as the saw is going down, this side of the saw is cutting more than this side of the saw, forcing the saw to curve this way. And what happens is underneath, those teeth are sticking out on either side. And the ones on this side over here are sticking out a little bit farther than this ones. And that means every stroke, these teeth over here are going to be scratching more of the wood. So there's a couple different ways we can fix that. Number one, I can come back and set the other teeth to be heavier and match. Or number two, I could kind of come back and try to counter set the teeth on the side that's too heavy and push those back in, but that's kind of inaccurate. Some people will say, you know, what you should do is come back in and back set 2 or 3 teeth and then try the saw again, and then come back and back set 2 or 3 more teeth and try the saw again. But that just means that you're going to have a couple teeth that are out of alignment with everything else. So for most saw people, the answer to that is stoning the saw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the saw and I'm going to lay it flat, and these teeth, this side here is sticking out too far. I'm going to grab my fine diamond stone. I'll leave a link to this down below. I'm going to set it on here, and we're just going to go like this. 1, 2. And what that's going to be doing is it's going to sand these all down equally and to take them from sticking out like this to take them to sticking out like this. So now these are all in the same plane, but this side is not quite as aggressive as it was before. So let's take it back and try it. Here we've got another line on the wood, so let's take the saw to it. Again, holding it very loose, let the saw do the work and see where it goes. Okay, so here we can zoom in again and see it's off the line, but not as much as it was before. It's about half of what it was. So that means if I take 2 more strokes on the saw plate, it should be pretty close to where it needs to be. So let's stone it again, bring it back and try it one more time. Grab the plate. 1, 2. Let's try it again. Another thing you'll note about this is I'm marking it from the opposite side I'm on, and that way I don't see the line. I just let the saw do the tracking and see where the saw goes. So let's put it on here and see what we get. Now if you were to look really closely, you can see I'm just a hair off the line. So I'm going to do one more light pass with the stone, and that should bring it right on. Let's try it again. And after that, we can really zoom in on it and see that is a perfectly straight line right on down. I set the saw on the line, just let it go to town, and that saw is tracking perfectly now. So if you find that a saw is always veering off to the same side every time, it's usually because there's a problem with the set. And it's one of these things that you're never going to get the set perfectly off of your saw set. You can get pretty close, and the better you get at it, the closer you can get. But every now and then there's going to be something that's sticking out a little bit farther. If it's just one tooth that's sticking out too far, coming into this will clean it up and bring it all back into true so that you can get that nice straight cut. I might do a video about setting teeth here soon because I consider setting teeth to be something separate from sharpening. Though you're working on the teeth at the same time, you don't always set the teeth when you sharpen. Usually I will set the teeth every 4 or 5 sharpenings and I let it go in between. Now that means that the more I sharpen it, the less set there's going to be on it, and that's really okay because the more set you have, the harder it is to push the saw and the coarser your cut is going to look. If you really want a nice, fine, clean cut, you want very, very little set. The least set you have on it, the cleaner your cut's going to look. But if you want to be able to turn the saw in the cut, the more set you have, the easier it is to turn. And so sometimes for beginners, it's actually a little bit better to have more set so that they can see where it's going and correct the saw. But then that can lead to overcorrecting. And so that's one of these things where you're going to have lots of debates about how much set to have in the saw. You want to have enough set so that the saw plate doesn't bind, but not so much set that you're getting a really rough cut. So if you find your saw is going off the line the same way every time, it may be due to set. It may be due to bad body mechanics, but often that means that you're going to be going off the line one way and going off the line the other way. But if one saw is always going off the line the same way and other saws aren't, so take a look at the saw and maybe let your saw get stoned. So I hope you like this. This is one of these quick tips that once I tried it, it was one of these eye-opening moments of, oh my word, I can actually make the saw go true. It's a problem with the saw, it's not a problem with me. And once you try that out and you get with it, it is amazing what you can get out of a saw when you stone it correctly. I'd love to hear your ideas and thoughts down below. This is one of these topics that will open up a lot of different debates, because once you start getting the saw setting, there's a lot of perfectionists out there that have specific ways that they do it. Also, I want to say a huge thank you to the patrons on Patreon. I had a lot of fun hanging out with you yesterday, and I'm probably going to be doing another hangout in the next week or so because I have some work to do, and it'd be kind of fun to hang out with you in your shop while I work in my shop. So everyone who's scrolling over on the side, say thank you to them because they are the ones keeping Wood by Wright going, and thank you. I would not be here without you. I think that'll about do it for today, and until next time, have a wonderful day. Yeah, you knew this one was coming. Call the cops. James's saws are stoned.